I returned home and found my bedroom emptied, my son smiling like it was a game. My heart steadied. Decades of silent patience sharpening every thought, I calmly placed a notice on the kitchen table and started a paper trail they couldn't ignore. This was only the beginning of what they hadn't seen coming. I pull into the familiar driveway of our Westmoreland Heights home, just as the late afternoon sun casts a golden glow over the magnolia trees. The porch swing creaks softly in the breeze, and for a fleeting moment, I remind myself that home should exhale when I arrive. My knee aches slightly as I step out of the car, careful not to jar my old joints. I set my keys into the ceramic bowl by the door, muttering, "Lord, I'm too old for surprises," a wry smile tugging at the corner of my lips. The air carries familiar scents, casserole dishes left by church ladies, the faint perfume from a funeral bouquet still lingering in the trunk, and the aroma of coffee from the travel mug tucked into the cup holder. Suburban sounds filter in, a distant lawnmower, a teenager's bass booming down the street, the soft flap of a HOA flyer wedged in the screen door. Something, however, feels slightly off. There's a hush, a faint perfume upstairs that doesn't belong, and I sense the quiet has been staged rather than earned. As I step inside, subtle displacements greet me. Hallway pictures are slightly rearranged. My late husband's wedding photo is gone. Dust rings mark where items used to sit, whispering under my breath. I ask, now who's been touching things they didn't buy? Scuff marks from new shoes track across the hardwood, and a throw blanket draped over the banister looks foreign. I sniff the lingering scent of fresh gray paint. The house hums with faint, muted laughter from upstairs, the click of a camera shutter from a phone. Someone is touring my space, making themselves at home where I have spent decades claiming ownership. I remind myself. In my house, nothing moves without me paying for it or preying on it. I push open the master bedroom door and my chest tightens. The mahogany bed that anchored the room is gone. Designer pillows sit stacked as though placed for a staged photograph, and the soft peach walls are replaced with cold gray. The wedding photo that always watched over the nightstand is missing. Dresser impressions remain on the rug, like chalk outlines marking absence. I place my hand on my lower back, counting to 5 to steady my breath. At my age, pacing. Anger is an art form, as precise as pacing steps. Sunlight falls across the dust motes where the headboard once stood, highlighting the absence as if spotlighting disrespect. Marla Kincaid's perfume lingers in the air, foreign and deliberate. I take stock silently. Bed frame gone, linens replaced, lamp substituted. In my mind, I repeat, see first, speak later. Then she appears. Marla, polished and smiling, phone in hand. Do you like it? Miss Rowan, this room fits us better? I note the careful phrasing, the us she uses, the sense of takeover. Ring impressions on the nightstand hint at someone else's glass. I measure my response carefully. Is that right? I ask evenly. She breezes past the subtext. You'll be cozier in the guest room. Better for your back. Ageism wrapped in courtesy. Gavin Leith Rowan hovers nearby. A sheepish smile plastered across his face. Mom, relax. It's temporary. I hold my reply. Aware that silence is my first strategic move, I step back and survey the room, noting the subtle changes. Where's my bed? I ask, my tone precise. Marla's casual cruelty is clear. In the garage. Safe. Safe is exile, and I imagine the damp wood frame, a cracked photo. I trace scuff directions along the baseboards, mapping the timeline of relocation trips. The axiom forms in my mind. When they want you small, they start with your room. I exit on my own terms, straightening a crooked picture along the way, reclaiming microcontrol with each deliberate step. In the kitchen, I brew black coffee in the old drip maker, placing the cup on the coaster my husband once favored. Ritual grounds me. The phone buzzes with a church friend's message. I ignore it, unwilling to speak on a storm I haven't measured. Footsteps overhead and the faint recording of Marla's words. This room is perfect for us. Confirms entitlement. I take note silently. I will not sleep in the guest room tonight. The thought lands like a nail set. Walking to the garage, I confirm the bed frame is there. Boxed and labeled, Mom's stuff. A photo frame cracked. Tactile grief shifts to focused resolve. I won't argue. I'll audit. I decide. Returning upstairs, I meet Gavin's eyes and speak to both of them evenly. Dinner's at 6. We'll talk after Grace. I slide my late husband's watch onto my wrist. A subtle reclamation of authority. Marla tucks the master key into her pocket with a laugh. Gavin repeats, "It's our room now." I inhale once. Setting down the coffee cup without a sound, I count to 5, ready to choose the sentence that changes a house. The plan is silent, deliberate, and waiting. "Gavin, hand me my bedroom key and listen carefully," I said, placing my coffee cup gently on the same coaster my husband had favored for decades. The kitchen smelled faintly of the pot roast I had set to low, mingling with the lingering scent of old pine from the living room. I hung my cardigan neatly, flipped on the under-cabinet lights, and checked the stovetop knobs as if inspecting a ritual I'd followed every evening for years. "I keep my house like I keep my faith in order," I murmured to myself, letting the words settle into a quiet rhythm. "Son, don't talk over me. Folks my age have learned to let the stew simmer before we taste it." The clock read 5:12 p.m., my structured hour to address the brewing storm. My eyes flicked to the second set of wine glasses in the sink and the glitter scattered across the dish towel. Company, unwanted company, had been here. My mantra repeated silently. See first, speak later. I moved through the downstairs loop, beginning with the front room, tracing the hallway and noting the garage door, each scuff mark, the faint odor of fresh gray paint set off internal alarms, a wedding photograph, once proudly displayed, now left a bare space on the gallery wall, a subtle, silent challenge. I opened the garage door slowly, noting the mahogany bed frame leaning against paint cans, the box labeled Mom's stuff in someone else's unmistakable handwriting. "Counting pieces like a teacher calling roll," I reminded myself. "I don't huff and I don't puff, I take inventory." Near the stairs, a phone tripod and ring light hinted at a recorded spectacle. I quietly snapped a photo on my iPhone, filing evidence for later. In my house, nothing moves without my consent. In my mind, the rule was absolute. From the hallway, Marla's voice rang bright and practiced. "Y'all, look at this light. This room fits us better. So airy." Gavin's soft laugh followed, attempting charm for the invisible audience. "Our room now," I noted, the phrase etched in my memory. Phrases mattered. Fits us. Our room. Guest room for Mom. Thin walls meant neighbors could overhear. Show rules forbade public intercourse. I mentally logged potential leverage. I stepped into the doorway. Voice calm, precise. "Turn it off." The red recording light blinked out. Marla's tone remained soft but edged with entitlement. "We just wanted you comfy in the guest room. Better for your back." I maintained neutrality, thinking, that's not care, that's control, and stated simply, "Keys, we'll talk at dinner." Setting the table became an act of quiet authority. 2 plates aligned with silverware exactly as my husband preferred. A third plate rested at the counter. A subtle boundary. Cornbread warmed gently. Pot roast simmered low. String beans dotted with pepper. A home's aroma grounding me. "Bless the food, then we talk," I said aloud, demanding grace before order. I seated myself at the head of the table, facing the hallway, positioning for both visibility and authority. Beside me lay a small notepad. Dates, words, and witnesses listed. Tonight's agenda. Language. Tonight's power. Mine to hold. I extended my hand to Gavin. "Give me the master key." Silence stretched. Marla offered a deflection. "We were organizing to help you. So many things to dust." I replied evenly. "I asked for the key, not a fairy tale." The key met my coaster and slid into my pocket, a tangible symbol of ownership. House rules followed. No filming, no unauthorized guests. Bedrooms are not shared property. I read their eyes, noting hesitation. Fear is more revealing than words. Marla tried soft ageism. "Miss Rowan, you deserve rest in a cozier room. You'll thank us later." I countered plainly. Baby, don't put thank you in my mouth for something I didn't ask for. I recorded in my notepad. Cozier room =sign displacement. I reminded Gavin, calmly. You know better than to move your mama out of her bed with a smile on your face. I asked about the streaming audience. Marla shrugged. Friends, family, people who follow my design page, I responded. Then they can follow you out the door if they paid for any of this. HOA and privacy implications were noted. Laughter from Gavin was left to fade. I stood, collected my plate, leaving theirs untouched, a signal. Respect before supper. After you wipe your profiles, come back and we'll talk about returning what you moved, I said. From the kitchen sink, I spoke without turning. Y'all enjoy the guest room tonight while you still can. Marla rolled her eyes. I wiped the counter slowly. Dignity in each circle. Boundaries were drawn plainly. You don't keep what you took with a grin. Tomorrow. I'll open that garage, and I want my things out of boxes and back in place, Gavin whispered. Mom, we didn't mean... I cut him off. You meant it enough to film it. I placed the house phone next to my notepad. Doctor. Odessa Blythe's number on top. Silence held, measured, calculated. Finally. I looked up at both of them. Voice even. Pack your things. Tonight you'll need your own house. Marla's smile faltered. Gavin's fork scraped the untouched plate. Outside. The porch swing tapped against the rail. I added. And before you sleep anywhere, take down every picture, every post, and every claim that room is yours. At dawn, I reached for my phone and made 2 calls. One to Dr. Odessa Blythe, my trusted elder law attorney, and another to the bank. The coffee I brewed steamed in a small, reliable cup, the curtains still drawn back to reveal a quiet street in Westmoreland Heights. The porch swing swayed lazily in the breeze, a small reminder that life continues regardless of domestic upheaval. Mornings are when I make decisions I can live with, I muttered to myself, the ritual grounding my thoughts. Odessa picked up first, her calm voice offering a noon slot at her office, a window for measured discussion. The bank flagged my inquiry as urgent, promising priority attention. My mantra repeated internally. See first, record second, speak last. Today. Paper would be my armor. I began an evidence sweep, systematically moving through the house. My phone captured screenshots of Marla's night posts before deletion. Phrases like our room and guest room for mom, highlighted in the glow of the screen. Metadata, timestamps, follower counts. All were meticulously saved and emailed to myself under the subject line, House, March 2024. My eyes drifted to the garage, mahogany bed frame, cracked photo frame, paint scuffs, and a ring light set up beside a tripod. I photographed each, placing a ruler and coin beside items for scale, channeling the careful observation of a neighbor with experience. The HOA packet, pulled from the kitchen drawer, revealed clauses on privacy, filming, occupancy, and nuisance. I flagged key points and wrote board contact, Agnes Poe, HOASEC, for quick reference. Everything went into a manila folder labeled Rowan House, Evidence, tabbed S5 for organizational clarity. Next, I dialed the bank's fraud desk, verifying that no new liens had appeared. Though I did find an attempted HELOC inquiry from last week. Someone had probed eligibility using partial information, an audacious overreach. I requested a freeze on any new credit linked to the address and added a verbal password on file. Eleanor Rowan, a private anchor only I could invoke. Certified copies of the deed and payoff letters were requested, ensuring proof of ownership with 0 encumbrances. I scribbled the fraud case number into my notepad, circling it twice for emphasis. Honey, if it ain't yours, don't touch it, especially not a woman's roof, I reminded myself, a wry internal warning. By mid-morning, I sat in Odessa's office, certificates framed on the walls and a shelf marked Elder and Housing Rights, providing quiet authority. Odessa listened as I recounted the situation, then outlined options, notices to vacate, cease and desist for unauthorized media, lock key policies under Tennessee law, and a property recovery list. She drafted formal documents, a written demand for restoration of my bedroom property, a no filming/no guest house policy, and a 48-hour license to occupy termination should terms be violated. Her instruction was clear: communicate once, in writing. Witnessed, avoid emotional arguments, let the paper speak. I signed the retainer and added the documents to the evidence folder, tabbing S7 for counsel, S6 for the bank, and S5 for HOA social. Back at home, I printed 2 copies of the notice, dating and timing each, bulleting points, keys returned, bedroom restored today, social posts removed, no guests or filming, respect for quiet hours, the HOA page and fraud case number were stapled to the notice. Signaling thoroughness, I set envelopes on the counter, sticky notes reading Gavin and Marla, and spoke plainly. Sign received, then comply today. Calmly, I photographed the envelopes for documentation, preserving the trace of accountability. Gavin appeared first, reading the envelope, jaw tight. "Mom, this is extreme, so y'all," he said. "No, baby, this is adult." I replied evenly, holding the calm that comes from strategy, not temper. Marla entered moments later, sunglasses shielding her eyes, phone in hand. She skimmed the paper, laughed lightly, and pocketed it as though dismissing it, unaware that each movement was logged meticulously in my mental ledger. Odessa's words echoed, "If they ignore paper, paper gets louder." I noted every detail: time, look, posture, and intent. Today, the first lines of a firm, controlled counteraction had been drawn, and nothing in the world would make me flinch from this measured response. The doorbell rang at 6, sharp and deliberate, and I opened the door to Miss Hart, the mobile notary, crisp navy blazer and badge visible, clipboard ready. The porch light cast long shadows across the threshold, and the doorbell camera quietly recorded the exchange. "Evening, Miss Hart," I said, stepping aside to allow the formalities to proceed in full view. On a small tray beside me rested 2 pens, Post-its, and my driver's license. Order calms a messy moment, I reminded myself. 2 sealed envelopes labeled Gavin and Marla sat neatly on the counter. I explained in calm cadence. "We're here to sign receipt of house rules, restore property, and return keys." Every gesture deliberate, the house itself a courtroom. No raised voices, just the authority of ink on paper. Marla descended the stairs, phone in hand, the red recording dot glowing insistently. I asked once, "Turn it off," my tone steady. She tried to play the content creator card. "My audience loves home transitions," I countered evenly. "They can love them at your address." Miss Hart made a note in her journal that the recording had ceased, a legal breadcrumb, small but protective. Gavin lingered, half apologetic, half enthralled by the scene. I focused on the clipboard, on the process, not on him. "We'll all speak grown," I said. "No raised voices, no extra guests, no cameras." They were performing for attention. I performed for documentation. My eyes scanned every micro-expression, every twitch, recording silently. The notary asked for identification. I provided mine and waited. Marla hesitated, producing a temporary card. Gavin handed over a worn license. Miss Hart paused, then mentioned casually that she had notarized a recent inquiry package using my address last week. Without specifying details, I noted the connection immediately. The bank's attempted HELOC ping, the social posts, and now a notarized paper trail. I made no outward display. My pen circled her name in my notepad. "Thank you for your diligence." "Miss Hart," I said softly, letting the implication settle between us. The bank visit tomorrow just gained sharper edges. I read Odessa's 1-page policy aloud. No filming, no guests, bedrooms assigned by owner, quiet hours, and immediate restoration of displaced items. Each page was initialed under Miss Hart's watchful eyes. The HOA clauses and bank fraud case number were attached to each envelope. I held out the key envelope. "All master and spare copies in here before 9 p.m. Marla scoffed. "Calling it extreme," I replied. "So is moving a widow out of her room for a live stream. The stamp of the notary sounded with authority, the metronome of clarity and control. Finally, the license to occupy termination notice was presented. Their permissive stay was revoked, conditions breached, 48 hours to vacate, immediate if non-compliant tonight. "Leave the keys on the table," I instructed. Gavin whispered. "Mom, that's harsh," I answered. "It's calendar accurate." Marla asked if she could spend one last night in the master. I said firmly, "No, ma'am, restoration starts now." The notary documented the delivery, printed names, and collected signatures. I signed last, deliberate, unshaken. Gavin dropped the keys into the envelope. They clinked. Marla held hers back, claiming she misplaced it. I noted the moment without comment. Picking up the landline as the porch swing tapped the rail, the house itself seemed to listen. Silent witness to control and consequence. Every action, every movement recorded in my mind, a ledger of the evening's escalation. Boundaries were drawn, lines in the sand etched with ink and presence. Nothing in the world would make me flinch from this measured authority. I hung up with Dr. Odessa Blythe. Repeating her phrase like a mantra, "Proceed to enforcement," the words set my spine straight, a signal that the evening would belong to logic and order. I called the licensed locksmith she recommended, scheduling him within the hour. I confirmed the invoice would note owner requested lock change after key refusal, leaving no room for theatrics. I photographed the front, back, and garage door locks, capturing every detail from my records. My doorbell camera remained armed, silently documenting. On the kitchen counter, the termination notice rested in a clear sleeve, time-stamped precisely at 9:00 p.m. I texted Gavin, polite yet firm. "Lock change at 9:15. Leave any key on the hall table." Adults handle logistics. Children manufacture drama. That was the rule of my house tonight. Marla appeared at the upstairs window, phone in hand, red recording dot blinking insistently. "Turn it off," I said once, my voice calm, controlled. She attempted the content creator angle. "My audience loves home transitions." I countered. "Even and cold. They can love them at your address." The notary, Miss Hart, jotted the cessation of recording into her journal, a subtle but critical legal breadcrumb. Gavin lingered, caught between apology and curiosity, his eyes darting nervously. I stayed focused on the clipboard, not their performances. "We'll all speak grown," I said. "No raised voices, no extra guests, no cameras." While they staged for attention, I performed for the record, eyes registering every twitch, every hesitation, every micro-expression. The white van arrived promptly, the locksmith stepping out to a crisp night air. He logged my ID, deed copy, and the key refusal note into his work order. Starting at the back door to avoid theatrics, he replaced the cylinder. Noting the new codes while I observed, Gavin whispered, "Mom, can we talk?" I nodded without breaking my focus, only acknowledging him with my eyes. Marla hovered with arms crossed, the picture of defiance. I instructed the locksmith. When finished, master key to me. 2 duplicates sealed. The click of the new deadbolt sounded like the house exhaling, a metronome for control and regained authority. I recorded the exact time. 9:22 p.m. The locks were changed, the key control restored, the message unmistakable. My porch light caught Agnes Poe, HOA secretary, walking her terrier. I invited her to witness the last handoff of keys. Agnes signed a note confirming observation. Owner notice delivered. Locksmith present, tenant equivalents informed. She reminded Marla politely, no filming neighbors per Rule 7.3 WOM. Marla pocketed her phone, her cheeks tight with embarrassment. I handed Agnes a copy of the privacy clause. She nodded appreciatively. A neighborhood is paperwork you keep with kindness. I thought, each signature a line of defense in civility and law, because Marla refused to surrender a key fully. I called the non-emergency line, requesting a wellness trespass advisement. 2 officers arrived. I laid out ID, deed copy, notarized acknowledgments, HOA privacy clause, bank fraud case number, all on the kitchen table, camera facing. The officers separated us to speak. Gavin's voice cracked. Marla insisted. She's confused. Reciting her rehearsed script, the senior friendly officer acknowledged the documentation and stated clearly, "This is Miss Rowan's primary residence? Your guests, now non-compliant." He noted the report number. I copied it carefully in my pad. No gloating. Adults manage logistics. After they left, I swept the downstairs. The motion light flicked on. Fresh dirt near the back gatepost caught my eye. Something metallic nestled in the soil. A key, perhaps left for later retrieval. I dug gently, the metal tapping against the trowel. I photographed it in place, then bagged it carefully. Texting Odessa. Recovered stashed key after termination notice. The night was mine, measured, orderly, and firmly marked. Every move accounted, every line drawn in ink and observation. I watched the doorbell feed blink to life at exactly 12:03 a.m. A woman standing on the porch holding a clipboard that declared authority, even in the dark. Mason Rye's associate from Rowan Securities' legal night service. She confirmed her identity through the intercom, and I carefully verified her badge and business license against the camera. Every detail recorded, every step measured for chain of custody. She handed me 2 packets, a cease and desist/notice to vacate, citing the notarized acknowledgments from Odessa's intervention, and a bank fraud incident notice, copied from Latrice Cole at Community Bank. I signed the received stamp copy on the threshold without granting entry, watching her mark the time at 12:07 a. Before leaving, camera-facing, I stacked the papers beside Odessa's card and the locksmith invoice, the night's first tangible line drawn between truth and deception, my mantra. Midnight papers and daylight lies. I summoned witnesses next, carefully triangulating the night. I texted Agnes Poe, HOA secretary, and Pastor Lionel Graves, a neutral moral witness, to arrive briefly for the key return process. I announced through the upstairs door, "We'll finalize keys at 12:30 with witnesses. Bring anything you're returning." The doorbell cam was split-viewed to capture both porch and foyer audio. My phone recorded as a secondary layer. On the table, labeled envelopes weighted, house keys, garage remote, gate fob, bed and photo glass fees, waived. The waived annotation silently undercut any narrative painting me as cruel. My internal line, kindness is a blade when wielded with records, precise and deliberate, cutting through pretense. Gavin descended first, eyes red, pleading for a week to gather possessions. I offered 48 hours of porch pickup. No overnights, no access. Lines drawn, boundaries respected. Marla followed. Phone angled low, whispering a rehearsed script to Gavin. "Say the memory thing, she'll fold with cops again." The doorbell mic captured every word, calmly. I placed the cease and desist on the table. "You're on notice. Filming inside stops now." Pastor Lionel arrived, nodding to both. "Let's be decent." While Agnes logged timestamps on her HOA pad, Gavin's shrinking posture against Marla's performative composure sharpened the power balance without a word raised. I cued the phone, playing the captured outdoor call where Marla declared, "Once we finish the renovations, it'll be legally ours." Gavin flinched. Pastor Lionel's expression tightened. Agnes recorded the phrase verbatim. I slid the forged loan letter from Latrice Cole across the table, highlighting the middle initial mismatch and assigned case number. A photograph of the buried spare key, time-stamped after my notice, was paired with Chapter 5's witness note. I demanded no apologies. The words on paper and audio formed an unassailable line. Tonight is documentation and departure plan. Their actions, their words, created this outcome. I presented 2 pathways: sign key surrender with a no harassment agreement and collect boxed belongings with HOA oversight tomorrow, or refuse, prompting a formal trespass filing and elevation of the bank complaint to sworn affidavit within 48 hours. Pastor Lionel urged peace. Agnes reminded them of HOA fines for nuisance. Marla blustered, "You can't kick out family." To which I replied, "Adults build their own homes." Gavin glimpsed the forged loan letter and whispered, "We'll sign." Marla's pen cap snapped in her hand, a tell of cornered pride. As signatures completed, Marla's phone vibrated. The overnight scheduled post went live, framing me as unstable and tagged to neighborhood groups. The doorbell monitor pinged, neighbors' phones lighting up, comments spilling in. I raised my palm. Steady voice. "You've just crossed into harassment, timestamp mid-signature." I pointed at the camera and Agnes' pad. Evidence documented, power measured, and lesson clear. The night remained mine. Every move cataloged, every line drawn, every truth preserved. The phone buzzed just before 1 o'clock, a muted ringtone cutting through the quiet hum of the house. Detective Corin Hale of Knox County returned my call, his voice measured, calm, and entirely focused. I summarized the sequence. Marla's forged loan attempt, the recorded outdoor call declaring possession, the process service delivery at midnight, and the HOA, and Pastor Lionel witnessing the key surrender. Hale instructed me to preserve every digital trace, download the edited smear post, capture original upload times, account ownership, and maintain a continuous trail. He stressed no engagement with the platform at this hour, only collection. I screen recorded Marla's post in full, captions, hashtags, and the unstable elder framing. First 10 commenters and timestamps meticulously logged. Internal mantra: evidence breathes best in daylight. I would not argue with a rumor at 1 a.m. But the record would wake up with the sun. Pastor Lionel and Agnes Poe were still present as I finalized the key surrender and no harassment agreements. I narrated the line-by-line meaning. No filming, no defamation, no entry. Each form was photographed against the door frame as a location anchor. Agnes initialed margins for anti-tamper verification. Keys, gate fobs, and garage remotes were collected into evidence bags labeled with precise times. The chain of custody logged in my spiral notebook. I instructed Gavin. Pick up boxed items tomorrow between 10 and noon. Text the HOA for escort. No access tonight. I handed Pastor Lionel a sealed USB containing all records, duplicated across 2 drives and cloud storage. Triple redundancy ensures the chain never breaks. I thanked both witnesses for showing up when it mattered most, not when it was convenient. Between 1:50 and 3:30 a.m., I sorted the storm into 4 trays: bank, HOA, legal notices, and media artifacts. I brewed decaf, laid out printouts, emails, screenshots, URLs, and post IDs, the community bank email from Latrice Cole, noting the forged middle initial, was clipped to an affidavit-ready cover sheet. Checklist reminders for seniors, label, date stamp, note who observed and when, maintain an index page. I drafted a concise statement, factual, non-accusatory, for neighborhood or church elders. Bedroom cameras powered down for privacy, exterior cams maintained at full sensitivity. I reflected. Mercy is not a lack of boundaries. It's what you show after you draw them. By morning, the smear post had begun to shift. Neighbors flagged it. The platform applied a limited visibility review, time-stamped for moderation. Agnes relayed the no harassment documentation to the HOA, and the post was hidden from the private group. Detective Hale requested a short affidavit, and I forwarded all materials. Sissing Latrice Cole and Pastor Lionel, Gavin arrived alone to retrieve boxes, eyes swollen but silent. He admitted financial pressure and Marla's plan, unaware of the full extent misses. Whitcomb delivered a pie, a simple acknowledgement that the neighborhood recognized facts over fiction. HR from his workplace requested a neutral verification. I provided a precise, non-defamatory statement. Internal thought vindication, not vengeance. Truth has its own appetite. Early afternoon brought institutional alignment. Community Bank launched a fraud investigation. The HOA issued civility reminders citing bylaws and potential fines for digital harassment. Pastor Lionel offered pastoral support for verification, and Dr. Odessa Blythe scheduled a 3:30 p.m. consult to draft a limited civil protective order. Marla's follow-up post floundered, with neighbors appending context added by readers, labels citing timestamp documentation. I filed a copyright strike on her image without consent. The platform acknowledged receipt. By evening, the mahogany bed was reinstated, the cracked photo glass replaced, I called my daughter Maya to say, "The house is breathing again," and enjoyed a quiet supper and walk, feeling community as scaffolding, not spectacle. I placed the signed midnight forms in the fireproof box alongside the original deed. I lived here before the noise. I'll live here after. The morning air carried a crispness that felt almost ceremonial as I dressed in my Sunday best for a weekday, a small nod to the dignity I intended to carry into the day. Pastor Lionel accompanied me to Community Bank, a neutral witness with steady hands and a calm presence. Latrice Cole greeted us with the prepared fraud packet, laying out the chain of events, the forged loan attempt, mismatched middle initial, device ID discrepancies, and alert logs from the night of the attempted closure. Each document was reviewed with meticulous care. When the notary seal pressed onto my affidavit, I signed slowly and deliberately, letting each stroke say what words could not: my name, my house, my record. The office camera captured the seal's impression and the journal entry. I requested a certified copy. Paper doesn't heal bruises, but it fences off new ones, I reminded myself. Copies were delivered to Detective Hale and Dr. Odessa Blythe, the bank committed to a criminal referral and freezing any action linked to the fraudulent request. By 9:30 a.m., the precinct awaited. I delivered a formal recorded statement, every word calm and precise. Detective Hale presented the platform compliance letter, mapping the uploader's IP, while I confirmed voices from the doorbell audio, marking timelines for bed removal, the group intrusion, and the midnight signatures, exhibits, HOA witness forms, bank emails, platform context labels, and my meticulously screen-recorded packet were inventoried. Hale outlined potential charges, stressing steps for no-contact orders and providing a case card with the prosecutor's intake date. I requested victim advocate information for other seniors in our church community, aiming to ensure knowledge of elder digital harassment reached beyond me. I came to speak once, so the paper could speak for me 100 times, I noted inwardly, the weight of documentation anchoring my resolve. At 11:15 Dr. Odessa Blythe and I filed a limited civil protective order at the courthouse annex. No entry, no filming, no online defamation. The judge signed a temporary order pending hearing. Odessa filed a demand to the platform for expedited takedown and highlighted the reader's added context tag as proof of misleading content. Process service arrangements for Marla and Gavin were coordinated, and the HOA was engaged to document potential trespass violations. Broad punitive measures were avoided, restitution and counseling were prioritized, with enforcement under counsel supervision. I left with stamped copies for my home safe and Pastor Lionel's church file, knowing narrow orders often carry more enforceable weight. By 1:30 p.m. Back at Rowan Residence, the beneficiary update and conditional trust addendum were signed. Gavin remained heir in escrow, released only upon documented restitution, counseling completion, and zero harassment for 12 months. Marla was explicitly barred from any benefit or access. The trust incorporated an educational grant for community seniors on home protection. Odessa filed the notice of access revocation and no filming letter with the HOA. A brief text informed Gavin, "You are not erased. You are required." The notarized packet joined the fireproof box beside the deed. Afternoon and evening flowed with public alignment. Pastor Lionel hosted a senior safety session highlighting title checks, camera etiquette, witnesses, bank alerts, and effective communication. The HOA posted a civility bulletin. Marla's account went private. Her video permanently removed with a defamation strike confirmed. Gavin sent proof of counseling. I acknowledged it simply. Evening brought the final porch conversation. No entry, no keys, restitution on schedule. Yes, that's why I built a bridge with tolls. I told him when he asked if love remained. Compliance was logged, no drama, no hug, only order restored. Nightfall returned the house to itself. Emails confirmed DA receipt and permanent platform removal. Bank accounts flagged, AOA fines codified, and church clinic scheduled. I restored my bed, replaced the cracked photo glass, and noted in my journal, Mercy without memory is naive. Memory without mercy is prison. I chose the middle road home. The fireproof box locked. Pastor Lionel's voice on voicemail. Proud of how you held the line. Lamps off. CS. The house settled. Breathing alongside me, a ledger made honest. As I placed the trust documents back in the fireproof box, a soft ping from my doorbell startled me. Another unexpected visitor at dusk. I froze. Eyes on the monitor. Heartbeat steady. Who could be standing there with my name in hand? And what new twist awaited in the quiet of Westmoreland Heights?